What's happening, guys? It's Ainsley here again with another tutorial. Today we're just going to be going through a nice mod classic. It's going to look pretty decent, this. We're really going to be trying to control the weight and the movement of his hair. We have actually put this shape in pre-existing, so we're not working with a lot of weight and length that needs to be reduced too far. So just to go through the section patterning, we've gone with kind of a low recession through here, just to take this weight and create almost like that square shape, but just keeping some movement towards the very bottom of the hair. Again, we've taken this full panel because we've already cut the hair's a little bit too short right now to actually work with the fringe into this little panel through here. Someone's honking the horn. What we're going to do is probably work from the sides, then through to this back area. Again, what we're going to do is create something quite vertical through here, and work vertically, sorry, and then we're going to move diagonally through here, just elevating to graduate through there, and then we can see the fact that we've created this W section through here. Now that's just to really control certain areas of the hair where we know the fact that we need to take some weight out here to increase the movement, but then at the same time we want something kind of disconnected in a way that just kind of works through these areas and promotes that little flick out whilst also retaining the shape through the head. And then we'll go on to the top as we get further on down the line. So like I say, we're going to work through this section to start off with. So Liam, if you just come around here. So we're just going to work on the actual perimeter length to start off with. And again, we're just going to be using a lot of point cutting. I don't want to distress the hair too much with a razor. And then we're just going to gently elevate. And point cutting just increases the movement, but at the same time, we're not distressing the hair to a point where it's going to look frayed and frizzy when he's using that back at home. So again, we're going to take that profile from behind the ear, and we can see this little length here, and we're just going to work point cutting straight into there. Again, we can just comb the hair down, check to see whether that's creating the shape that we want to. We want to utilize this length and let that hit the ear, and all that's going to do is just promote the hair to actually flick up. He's enjoying the shape that we've got pre-existing, so what's really nice about this haircut and what's going to make it a lot easier for us is obviously we are following that shape, but obviously just for the point of the video, we are going to talk you through it. Now we are taking third section, just over directing into previous, so that is 3 into 2. Now as we get towards the front, we want to retain a little bit of length through here because that's what's going to give us almost that muddy kind of feature, and we're just going to over direct 4 into 2. So there shouldn't be too much coming off because we've taken the majority of that off with the perimeter length. And we can see we've got that nice bit of movement through there. That's going to be great. So comb this forward, just going to take a little section from here, and all we're going to do is comb that hair down, and then just point cut through there, and then just keep that elevation just to create a slightly lighter shape. We're not going to work too round right now until we start getting these sections that actually come around towards the center of the nape. Again, then just elevate into there. Point cutting again, just to that guide. Finding that guide again, just pulling up to where that layer starts. And then what we're going to start doing now is just moving ever so slightly round. Now we want that corner to kind of keep a nice strong square perimeter, but we do want a little bit of softness through here. So we're going to just remind ourselves just to start following, remembering where our feet position is. and remembering where we're going to. Still looking for the guide. Again, if you can't see the guide, then we've usually come a little bit off of course. So what we need to do is, if we can't see the guide, is just go back to the previous section and then just maybe even take a slightly finer one. That will just help a lot. I don't think a lot's going to come off of here. And we're just going to show you how we're going to take some weight through here just once we've executed the other side. So again, just repeating through. Again, just taking that into a manageable chunk. Obviously we could just cut the hair in one fell swoop, but at the same time, you don't want to see that sort of hair just getting chewed up by taking too big of a section. So just coming down. Again, you can kind of see the fact that this is really, really simple once you know where you're pulling that hair to, how you're sectioning it out. But we're just sort of looking through, even though we have cut the hair before, it's always good just to analyse. In our consultation, we just want to know exactly what the do's and the don'ts, what the likes and dislikes were last time in the hair. In this case, we've got a nice easy customer who just basically said they wanted exactly the same. And obviously we can remember from last time. So I'll just show you as well, just before we actually start, because this is crucial as we move from side to side. We want to just make sure that this balance is perfectly the same. And I just think we can afford to go just a touch shorter towards the top of there. And the reason why it's so important just to take that starting section and making sure it's balanced is that's going to dictate that whole side. There is nothing worse than when you actually cut the hair either too long or too short, and then one entire side is basically completely off kilter just because we haven't been checking the balance. So again, just coming through there and point cutting, just double checking and cross checking. Again, taking that 3 into 2. And then over directing 4 into 2 to retain that length. We can now comb the hair forward and we can sort of see that shape balanced even by the perimeter. And we can see that's going to set up really, really nicely for something quite square through there. But you can see this kind of shape, it keeps everything quite soft. We're still keeping masculine elements to the haircut. I must trip over them, bro. And then again, like I say, we're going to take a diagonal. We're just going to split that down. If you need to clip it, you can do. So again, finding that guide and then just running a nice point cutting method. Again, keeping square and just following that diagonal just to create a corner towards the very bottom. Rotate this into 2. Again, elevate. It's really important that you are elevating. If we pulled this down here, we wouldn't be taking half as much off, and what we'd end up with is loads and loads of weight. So that elevation just keeps things nice and light, increases the movement, and just helps the hair move in the direction that we're trying to manipulate it into. Again, just coming over on this last one. Ever so slightly rounding down now. And then again on this side. Lovely stuff. Just feeling the hair. Give it a good move around as well, making sure the fact that it's sitting exactly how we want it to. We know the fact that we've got that nice supportive shape here, and we've just got that ever so slight movement. Now we could exaggerate this even more and have like a really exuberant flick. But the only problem is when we're talking about commercial hair here, we don't want something that's just going to flick out loads, because it's not going to last that 6-7 weeks sometimes that longer hair can last. Now if your client's coming in every, probably like 3 to 4 weeks, you might get away with that, but I find my longer haired clients tend to last around a month to a month and a half. So I always like to keep that in consideration, and that's another thing that you should be assessing in your consultation, is how often is the hair getting cut. because that really does dictate to how short or how long you leave it. So again, through this nape area, just where there's a little bit more density, again, we're just taking this area and really sort of controlling this haircut by basically sub-paneling it. And all that's going to do is just take a little bit more weight and just layer in the nape area where I know the fact that the density is going to be a little bit too much. Again, promoting the hair to flick out a little bit. But again, this might not always work on someone else's hair or haircut. Could be absolutely fine using that sort of elevation to graduate. But I just know with his hair, it is so dense through here. We just want to control things a little bit more and just add that little bit more lightness towards the bottom of the nape of the neck. Now, as you can see, there are just a couple of little areas underneath that we want to control. So I just like to comb the hair in that direction. Look for where that naturally sort of sits. We're not looking to eat into the hairline or anything like that, but we're just using our clipper just to get rid of any sort of peach fuzz essentially underneath the neck. Now, because his hair is so weighty through this centre area, I feel like that's just going to end up flicking up. So we'll just go grab a razor. There we go. Here's one I made earlier. That'll be fine. Right, so just to promote a little bit more flick, we can find those slightly weightier areas and we can just work above them. And all that's going to do again is just tuck that hair in and then promote that hair to flick out. And then once we've done that, we can really sort of have a look at just controlling that little bit, as I call it, a duck's ass, dove's ass, whatever anybody really wants to call it, but just that little piece that where those growth patterns just kind of collide together and create a little bit of point. We just want to get rid of that just so we can create that square shape. And any little areas that just look a little too heavy can really go in. And this is where as well, like throughout the haircut, we don't have to leave it right the way till the end to actually think of going through it visually. If we can see the fact that it'd be easier to tackle this area before we do this area, then do so. Don't feel like there's a right or wrong to which sort of way round you do things. It is just completely up to you. So again, through these little diamond areas. So again, we know the fact that we're working something quite square through here, and then we know the fact that we've got almost like diagonal graduation almost through there, but we are elevating it to keep it a little bit lighter. So what we're going to do now is really simply take this all as one section, so we know the fact those outer sections are going to over direct and create more length throughout the width of the section. And this again, super commercial, because once we've sectioned all of this out, it is just a case of knowing your angles, knowing where to take weight, and executing. Again, you can see the fact that just keeping that little bit of length through here is going to create more movement towards the bottom, but it's also going to keep that spheric kind of shape. So I almost see this as almost looking orange or a chocolate orange, whatever kind of orange, or a slice of pizza. Like, this is a curved section. Now if I want to sort of manipulate the hair to actually sit in a different shape, then essentially all this sub paneling is doing is just creating a different shape in that interior that couldn't be controlled by just normal vertical sections. So sometimes when we see these crazy section patterns, it is just about just simplifying what they actually are. What sort of shape is the head in that area? What sort of angle are they then using? Then you can almost build up a bank of information to what to do in those certain areas, because obviously not everyone's head is exactly the same. Some people have slightly squarer and flatter back of the head. It's definitely my category. Some people have uber round ones. It just all depends on the client and how we see fit to actually execute the trim. So again, we're going to work now through the top panel. And again, we're just going to keep this really nice and simple. Just making sure that the hair's hydrated. And we're going to take that center profile through there. Nice and clean. Can clip the hair out if it's slightly misbehaving. In this case, his hair is not. And I'm just going to work on this fringe panel to start off with. I'm going to work something quite rounded and quite broken. So again, you could use in point cutting. Seems to be our weapon of choice for this entire haircut. So this is what I've just found reacts really nicely with Billy's hair. Now you can see the fact that we've done something quite round, something that follows the contours of the head. That's just going to remove as much weight and volume as possible. Now through this back area, I'm going to go with something slightly squarer. And notice the fact that I'm not looking to connect the back and the front. I know the fact that this part of the head might require slightly less weight than the other one, so I don't need to then create connection just for the sake of connection. And that's one of those things where once you do build up that sort of understanding of your section patterns and you try a few things and start understanding a little bit more of the logistics and why you're doing things rather than just doing and copy and pasting, and really sort of start working with some intelligent disconnection and really understand it rather than just connecting everything, which tends to be one of those things that everybody's just taught how to do as a barber or a hairdresser. Just connect everything because it's the safe option. So again, we're just over directing everything into previous. Just take this last section. We know the fact that this is really sitting on the curvature of the head, so we're just going to remove DPD man making loads of noise. Just going to over direct that 2 spaces rather than the 1. You can start to see that shape now. Even before we've even done anything, the fringe, you can see that movement and that lightness now sort of picking up again. So that's what we really want to see. So again, just turn this towards you guys so you can see the over direction. So again, taking from that middle point. Again, body positioning, knowing where your guide is, consciously cutting, do not cut if you can't see a guide. Keep that over direction very consistent. So again, just whilst we've still got this panelled out, just going to take a little bit out of the fringe. So I'm going to just choose, this is the only time that I'm going to use the razor. Again, just pull into that sort of eyebrow length. Again, I'm going to use the razor and push out in a direction that I want that fringe to move. So I'm just coming through like that. Medium tension here, because I'm not looking for something that sits precise. I want that slight more movement and dishevelled kind of feel to it. If I did a nice boxy fringe on you, I think it looked a little bit odd. I'm just going to split. just look at how that back panel and that front panel connect. And I'm probably just going to come around with a little bit of connection towards this back area. Just pulling the hair out. And it is only this little area here. But other than that, it's actually sitting pretty. So again, just pulling up. And this again is just one of those things where we're looking visually at the haircut. Now what I like to do is, before I actually properly visually go through this trim, just give it a good old shake, see where everything's sitting, making sure there's not too much weight around the ears, not making sure that there's too much weight at the nape of the neck, seeing where those areas kind of split, and seeing how that movement works just consistently all the way around. And I think that's sitting beautifully, to be honest with you. So we're just going to get a little bit of product in there, we're just going to diffuse, and yeah, should be looking good. So we're just going to work a little bit of like halfway between a cream and a paste. We're going to just work it right the way into the hair, just hydrating it, moving the hair just so it breaks up any section patterns, and also just seeing where the hair naturally wants to move. And we can see, if it was a nice warm day, we could even just leave the hair like this, and we know the fact that it's going to dry in quite nicely. Sometimes with slightly more natural looks, we just want to see the hair just sort of do its own thing. And that's really what I always think is like I've done a good job with the haircut, is when it actually just sits perfectly without too much manipulation, especially with these slightly longer haircuts. And again, that choice of haircut is working with something that naturally feels right with his hair, rather than just picking something that essentially works against it. So I'm going to diffuse this now, and then I shall get a couple of videos of the end results. Well, I hope you like that really nice, easy, speedy, commercial mod look. I hope you like it, and these are the finished results.